Hi, Justine here from Growing Outside the Box. I wanted to do a video for you today about onions. Although it seems like onions are pretty easy to grow, there are a few things that make them actually pretty challenging. One of my goals for the garden this year is to have some braided onions for storage. I'm very excited about that. I wanted to give you a few tips on how to make sure you get large onions. The first thing you need to figure out is what kind of onions to buy. There are short day, long day, and intermediate or neutral day onions. If you get the wrong onions for your growing zone, you're going to have problems with bolting or bulbs not forming completely. The way that I remember it is if you're in the south, growing zone 7 and up, you're going to have short day onions. For more northern latitudes, growing zones 6 and below, you'll use long day onions. I think about long days of summer in places like Alaska or Iceland where it doesn't get dark until the middle of the night. That's how I remember long day onions for northern latitudes. Intermediate onions can be grown in those middle growing zones. This is US terminology. So maybe growing zones 5, 6, 7. Those are intermediate day onions. Also, you can use intermediate onions as a succession planting later in the season in northern latitudes where the day lengths are a little bit shorter than they were in the beginning of spring, because onions can be cold weather hardy up to a certain extent. So you can use that as a way of extending your season and having another additional crop of onions. I've recycled 2 containers. In these containers, I bought mushrooms from the store. I've poked holes in the bottom here for good drainage, and it's also a good solid amount of soil. These onions will be growing in this container for about 10 weeks, 7 to 10 weeks. You should be planting them 7 to 10 weeks before your last frost in order to get them ready for the garden. One of the things I've learned from seed starting is that when you buy seed starting mix, it's really meant to be really nice and light and fluffy so that the seeds, the little tiny seeds, can survive and push through it and sprout, okay, without any resistance. The problem with using only seed starting mix is that in 10 weeks, there will not be any nutrition left in the soil. So what I've done is I've put some compost in the bottom of this container, and on top I've put some nice fluffy seed starting mix. So it's going to have the nutrition from the compost and the soil quality on the top of the seed starting mix. Some of my favorite things to use for soil is the Jiffy. This is the Jiffy seed starting mix. It's really, really, really fluffy. One of my favorite companies here in New England is the Coast of Maine. This has a lot of really great ingredients, and this particular compost is actually lobster compost. So these are what I'm using to start onions today. Since I'm in New England and I'm in growing zone 4B, I'm going to be planting long day onions. So I've chosen 2 types. Dakota Tears onions. This is a yellow onion, and it is particularly good because it's a storage onion. They last a long time in storage, and also it's bug resistant. And then I also just really like red onions, so I'm going to try to plant the cipollini, the red cipollini onion. So I will go ahead and show you how to plant those too. One of the things to know about onion seeds is that they don't actually last very long if you keep them year after year. The germination rate goes down a lot more than most other seeds. So it's something to keep in mind to try to work through some of the seeds that you might have left over from last year first, because they don't often last as long as some of the other varieties of plants. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently broadcast the seeds over the top of the dirt, just spreading them all out. Okay. Aww. Aren't they so cute? You're just gonna say, oh my goodness, you're gonna have so many onions. I'm planting a little extra just in case, because these seeds are a year old. So just in case I do have decreased germination, I'll have enough. Once you've given them a nice spritz, then you'll put the humidity dome on. They germinate in temperatures about 55 to 75 degrees. You'll put them on a heat mat until they start sprouting, and then you can take them off the heat mat and take the humidity dome off. Now, a pro tip for strong seedlings is you really want to trim them. You want to trim the seedlings to about 3 inches. Every time they kind of get a little taller than that, you'll just give them a nice little trim to keep them at about 3 inches. What that will do is strengthen the roots, and really the root is what we're going to harvest. So we really want to strengthen those roots and get them ready to go outside. Another really important thing to remember is, in my situation, I'm planting long day onions. I really don't want the day length to be over 12 hours. So if I have a light over the top of this, 12 hours is all the light that we should be giving them. It's even more important for short day onions that you limit the exposure to about 10 hours under the lights.